Greetings, friends, and welcome to Captain Samuel's. Today we're taking a look at Revolt in 2100 by Robert Heinlein. And this is based on a short story from 1940 called If This Goes On. And this edition, in expanded novel form, is from 1953. Yeah, so this is about a dictatorship in the United States. Imagine that. A religious fanatical group has ruled the United States for a couple hundred years, and the leader is called the Prophet. And the Prophet has an elite honor guard who protects his harem every night. And one of these guards of the harem, named John, and his friend Zeb, they basically hear the Prophet doing his thing, if you will, with all of these virgins that get sent to the Prophet's bedroom every night. And the guard, John, falls in love with one of the women who's sent there. Her name is Judith. And so as a result of that, he discovers this underground revolutionary group known as the Cabal, and he defects from his position in the Prophet's military and goes on a cross-country journey, which was quite exciting. He steals all kinds of plans and has his face changed and has to go underground and all this stuff. And he finally gets to the West Coast. And there at the headquarters, he does a lot of paperwork. And then all of a sudden, at the end, just kind of out of nowhere, there's a revolution and they overthrow the Prophet. So what did I like and not like about this book? Well, it felt a little underbaked. Heinlein throws in a lot of different ideas, like being able to change your face, but he doesn't do a whole lot with it. Then at the end, when they're attacking the Prophet's headquarters, suddenly there's telepaths, and the telepaths talk to one another across the tanks. And nothing really comes of the romance with Judith either. She just kind of sends the guy a Dear John letter, I don't want to be with you anymore, I'm off with Jody, and that's just kind of the end of that. And also, there's a couple of like plot holes or things that don't quite make sense. Like, John has underground cave romance with a woman named Maggie, who's one of the other staff, and she says no to marrying him, and then just later on in the book, they get married. I'm like, wait, what happened? I thought they said no, that she wasn't going to marry him, and then all of a sudden they're like, they got married the day before the attack. The action parts were really well done. Heinlein was a naval officer, and I see that he has an understanding of what it's like to be in the military. When he was describing John in this book stealing a plane and then having to put it on autopilot and jump out, man, you could tell that Heinlein had been in some tough situations, because I really felt that, how exciting and terrifying it was at the same time. I will say that the majority of this book, though, is just conversations about revolution. Tons and tons of paperwork. When John gets to the secret base, he's just like an aide to the general, and it's just tons and tons of paperwork. Not very exciting. But most of the book is Heinlein riffing about stuff, going off on political tirades. And I kind of liked it. He goes out of his way to talk about how censorship leads to tyranny, and he also nailed some of his predictions for where the United States were headed. He has some characters say things like, logic and clear thinking, the ordinary person doesn't care about that at all. They decide what they want to believe based on their emotions, and then they'll warp their logic and thinking so that whatever they want to be true, they'll just make it true. And, I shit you not, there's a scene in this where they're watching TV, and troops are sent to Minneapolis, Minnesota, kill innocent people, and then the next thing that comes on TV is the Prophet peddling junk that you can buy. Heinlein, my man, you nailed the United States' future. So, overall, I think I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I do recommend it. It was a pretty interesting book, and this is the first Heinlein I ever read. I had a good time with it. On the surface, it seemed like it would be kind of dry, but I think the accurate predictions and the over-the-top political riffing kind of carried it through to a higher rating than you might expect. So that has been Robert Heinlein's Revolt in 2100. And also, just so you know, there's another short story just suddenly at the end called Coventry. And I guess that's kind of like what happens after the revolution. But at that point, I was a little burned out on reading about paperwork and underground complexes and just kind of said, okay, I'll read Coventry another time. So I just read the bulk of the book, the main story. All right, folks. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching.